I mean, we're just bombarded with all these encasings, figures of speech that aren't literal. I mean, I think I spoke upon a box and a box and a box. It's a China doll. We're needing ways to dispel envelopes, such as Han Solo getting engulfed by some sediment. Fuck out from here. How commonplace is the public domain is understanding how organic the grassroots could be. If what it takes to make a really good food time for a lengthy germination of a seed, when time is money, for a lengthy germination of a seed, when time is money, wouldn't the best settings be proper? No, I'm not a Lego fanatic. I just know that the outreach is that they've covered many things. And so if you can utilize these things in grander aspects, I'm trying to demystify things that seem life-threatening. So all the droids that look like not normal Lego figures, bringing them to the forefront, and perhaps that there's like some other thing from them being evasive, or that you try and hide something, the easier it is to find. But then like some of the best hiding places are in plain view. So when you couple those two, it's just like you're making a movie, but then you can have the theatrics of the movie set. It's a twofer. And when you're able to go around a complex like a Lego set, you can see how many solutions look great based off mapping. And when it comes to things such as in structural designs, interior and exterior, I mean, in special effects, there's such grand attributes that are in line with things that are handled in lab work, such as algorithms. An algorithm is very much like the plot of a story, and how fantastic a story could be that much grander if it's utilized in motion. Or it's just this whole conception of you have to do this or else you're not covered. I think if you build these complexes with something as easy as Legos, it's almost irony on itself to see how great life is. And in order to benefit from it, you don't need the state-of-the-art equipment, especially not for entertainment businesses. And when it comes to theater, it can be done, it's entirely different than what's on TV and film. What's filming on TV is on a set amount of frames in stop motion. And a theater can be shown as like a set of like Legos sprawled out. It's just one frame, but then attributing lights to it and different chemical reactions if it's stuff is bonding, meltable plastics, not toxic. So it's getting a lot harder for farmers to have great agriculture nowadays. That fertilizer is going up, and it's just so hard with the trucks because a lot of them have protocols. And hey, wouldn't that be great if we knew a bit more about how hard it is, and maybe allow for, you know, what food is to be handled without so much harshness, to just have it be eased up on the farmers. How could you ease that up? What if it was as fun as some Legos that were made as crystals, and understanding how great that gold or crystal was can be seen in how soft it is. Gold is the softest metal, and then crystal, it's really easy to see how great it is, especially if it isn't plastic. The relation between those was nothing more than fertile? And what if the relation between those was nothing more than fertilizer, and seeing who makes these price points at the origin? Boy, I bet there would be some rascal that we wouldn't know of as a straw man with insider trading to have a middleman mark it up. And if it were, shouldn't it be just a game in finding it? Like moderating them to emulate special effects of scenes that never got really fully totaled out. You can have a funner way of understanding things that are important that could stop threats that are current, like a bacteria that's resistant versus a bacteria that is invasive, and give food science a whole new outlook, because you can make an entire scene out of food and then eat it and then have light and gas all about. If you put gas all about a figurine that's jacked up, like this one, and then it'll smooth out the hard edges so that it looks more realistic, especially it fits in a scene that fits right. And even more so if you mod it by putting paint that doesn't absorb light on its corners, the gas seeping all about it, you'll be looking at it and polarizing the quantum nature of it so it looks more realistic. The ultraviolet light catastrophe was a bombardment on the science community, where it was a catastrophe because no one had the right numbers, and without the numbers being right, this is what happened. The amount of people thinking that there was so much radiation that nothing could be handled properly was that there would be an influx of this ultraviolet everywhere. Whether that was an occurrence, it wasn't. But they thought an ether was everywhere. An ether is just like an extra shield of like a force field in Star Wars or something. Hey, do you know if there's infrared dots everywhere, you might think that everywhere is getting aimed at by a firearm, because that's what they use in aiming. But then if someone granted you clemency, where you would never be hit with a projectile despite being infrared dots everywhere, that would be eliminating a massive threat, almost as equal to the ultralight catastrophe, where it was just they had the numbers wrong. But what kind of threats do we face in normal days? The FBI would think that there's Russian agents and domestic terrorists everywhere, even though there aren't. Other than that, can you think of any more threats that seemingly could be about places? Maybe bacteria? Do you know in plastics there's two different types? And plastic is what Legos are made up with. And the distinction between if a Lego is a toy or a different Lego is a distinction between two different Legos being like ones that look like they're droids, or they're just ones that look like they're Legos. The difference of a Lego and a different toy can be kind of seeming as the toys that aren't Legos don't have the characteristics that an ideal one would have. Like the legs would be blocky, and then the arms being hook-like. But then when you look closer at thinking twice, there are all the same with the legs and the arms and the head. It's just that they have paint that is different and then solid structures that look